what we know 100% based on that press conference for the first time is that this investigation is being directly led by Attorney General Merrick Garland. And Merrick Garland is the hand-selected head of the Department of Justice by Joe Biden. And I just want to discuss the larger context here. This is me putting on my legal hat for you. This is Banana Republic, third world level crazy, okay? And I want you to follow along with me here. We have now the Attorney General of the United States investigating the man that his boss, Joe Biden, ran against in 2020 and may well run against in 2024 because Donald Trump is the leading contender to be the Republican nominee in 2024. And Attorney General Merrick Garland is conducting an investigation that may allow him, I want you to think about this for a minute, that may allow him to bring charges which would challenge and or severely curtail the political legitimacy of his boss's top rival for the presidency. This is crazy. And sometimes I feel like I need to take crazy pills because what immediately occurs to me is AG Merrick Garland cannot head up this investigation of Donald Trump at all. There needs to be an independent counsel from outside of Joe Biden's Department of Justice investigating Donald Trump if this is a true criminal investigation that could lead to charges. And if that is going on, there's no way that Merrick Garland should be in charge of that investigation because he is conflicted out as many different ways as I could possibly imagine. But the primary one is you can't allow the head legal officer of the chief rival of Donald Trump to be conducting an investigation of Donald Trump. This is really what happens in third world countries where if you lose an election, not only do you lose an election, your opponent puts you in jail and your family in jail and decides to do a full-on investigation of you. We've never seen anything like this. This is truly without precedent in American judicial history. So how is it that Merrick Garland, now that he has let us know he personally approved the warrant, he is managing this investigation, theoretically, of Donald Trump? If this is a potential criminal investigation, there is no way under the sun that he can be the person who is conducting this investigation. It's indefensible. And I say sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Maybe there are other people with law degrees pointing this out. I just went on Fox News and said it. I haven't seen anyone else saying this. And again, regardless of what your politics are, take it out of the situation here with this investigation of Trump. Would you think it was fair if Donald Trump were president right now and we expected for Joe Biden to be his running opponent in 2024, for Donald Trump to have his attorney general leading an investigation of Joe Biden and his family? Now, trust me, I'll talk about this in a minute. I think Joe Biden and his family have done multiple things that are worthy of felony charges just based off Hunter Biden's laptop standing alone. But how in the world can you justify Attorney General Merrick Garland leading this investigation? It's really through the looking glass level, Alice in Wonderland, absurd. And if Trump were investigating, if Trump were president right now, and his attorney general had been investigating Joe Biden, everybody out there would have been saying, my goodness, we can't even allow this to occur. And it upset Trump, but I think it's worth mentioning. Trump's own attorney general, who he certainly wasn't happy with, former Alabama Senator Jim Jeffords, recused himself from the Russia collusion investigation because he didn't think he could impartially investigate that situation. And that's how we ended up with Robert Mueller in charge of the Trump collusion investigation. And to be fair to Jim Jeffords, when the Mueller report came out, way more people trusted Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia collusion than would have ever trusted Jim Jeffords' investigation into Russia collusion. Now, there was nothing to it, and I understand why Donald Trump was angry that Jim Jeffords didn't just come out and say, this is all total BS. I understand that frustration with your attorney general. Trust me, I do. But nobody really argued with the findings of the Mueller report because he was an independent counsel, because he did a long dive into the investigation of that case. And by the time it came out, Attorney General Barr, they released a report, said what the findings were, put it into context. But the fact that it was an independent investigation in this era, when I think it's fair to say, I don't know if I trust the Department of Justice. I don't know if I trust the FBI. How in the world, when we're in a 50-50 country, is it considered appropriate for Merrick Garland to be heading up an investigation of his chief political rival? Again, people get mad at me. Believe it. People get mad at me all the time because I'm hyper-rational and I stand on principle and precedent over politics. That gets people mad. Sometimes they're like, Clay, why don't you argue this? Well, no, I'm not going to do that because I want to be able to argue consistently. I want there to be a foundation under which you can hear my opinion and you can agree or disagree with it, but I want it to be consistent over time. Just like, frankly, a judge's opinions have to be consistent over time. And I got to tell you, Democrat, Republican, who's ever in office, the idea that their attorney general would be conducting a criminal investigation of the chief rival of the president should never happen. It ought to be an immediate recusal. Attorney General Merrick Garland, if there's truly a criminal investigation underway for anything with President Trump, should be putting in place a truly independent counsel. That's what should happen. And look, I think the independent counsel statute has all sorts of issues. The Kinstar report, certainly the investigation of Bill Clinton. It's one thing to outsource an investigation of the sitting president from the Department of Justice, because there certainly is the appearance of impropriety there. But we've never really seen, to my knowledge, I can't recall ever seeing an opposing Justice Department investigating for criminal charges their would-be top rival for the presidency. And the fact that I'm one of the only people that I've seen saying Merrick Garland can't run this investigation, the biggest news that came out of that press conference that he just had was he personally approved the warrants. He is personally involved in the investigation into Donald Trump. Department of Justice can't do this. If they are conducting a criminal investigation right now, he's got to wash his hands of it. There has to be a truly independent investigator brought in, and that person should actually be the person who is investigating Trump, not Joe Biden's handpicked head of the Department of Justice. So those are my thoughts there. Maybe other people are going to join on now with me and make that argument, but I would just encourage all of you to think about it outside of the Democrat, outside of the Republican angle. Just, does it make sense for your biggest political rival to be conducting an investigation of you? Does that seem like it's fair and free of bias? I think every single one of you out there who is being honest and not being your biased yourself would say no. No, that's not logical at all. I mean, take it, if you want a sports analogy, if Alabama investigated Auburn, they would find a lot of things wrong with what they were doing in football. If Auburn investigated Alabama, they would find a lot of things wrong that were going on there. When you allow your chief rival to conduct an investigation, no one believes that what they uncover is legitimate in any way. And I just want you to think about that. Just put it in the context of sports. Whoever your biggest rival is, you're a Florida fan. Would you accept that Georgia investigating you would lead to a fair outcome of that investigation and vice versa? If you're a big Green Bay Packers fan, would you think that the Chicago Bears would conduct a fair investigation of you? If the Pittsburgh Steelers were in charge of investigating the Cleveland Browns, would you be like, oh, you know who I definitely trust if I'm a Browns fan? Steelers are going to be really fair to us, or vice versa. No, of course not. You need someone who at least has the possibility to argue that they are unbiased if you are truly going to conduct an investigation into your chief rival.